again with this live stream. So I really like the Cow's da42 that we have here, this twin-engine turbo diesel propeller-driven aircraft. I liked it so much actually on my YouTube review when I explored it and messed around with it a little bit. Check the video if you want to see a little bit of in-depth information about the aircraft, which at the time of this live stream, it just came out. I liked it so much though that I had to actually try it again. So I actually have a real reason to try this aircraft coupled with the, I guess it's a Thrustmaster TCA Airbus. I got the, whatever that's called, the Captain Pilot X edition. Came with the Airbus side stick and the dual throttle levers for the port and starboard engine. Actually, you know what? I might as well just show you, let me just throw up a couple pictures. I'll do that on the YouTube version here after I swap it over. But if you go ahead and look it up, it's essentially a split left and right throttle with speed brakes, all the things you see in the Airbuses on that center console between the two pilots on the floor. Yeah, that pedestal, it's got a lot of that functionality and the button pressing and the gears and all that stuff for raising and lowering. So I wanted to try it because, yeah, split throttles, this is my first time ever actually purchasing a split throttle quadrant, and I really like how this gives so much more manipulation of aircraft control. So much so, as a matter of fact, because I've always just ran with a single joystick, you know, one joystick and one throttle, and that was it, basically, because, you know, on DCS, for the Digital Combat Simulator with the F-16, you don't have two engines, so, you know, it really kind of helps out a lot with this for the general aviation flying. But what I was here for is I'm actually doing some engine out simulations because, as I said, you know, it's an excuse to try the new Airbus throttles as well as the aircraft itself. It's really cool. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So I'm planning on taxiing down here to the end of this runway and going out over the ocean here, the Pacific, since we're in the Pacific Northwest here at Silitz Bay. That's Sierra 4-5. And I'm actually going to, head out, take a right after we lift off here, and we'll go over the ocean a little bit. I'll gain some altitude, and then I want to try some engine outs. We'll do an engine out with the left, we'll do an engine out with the right, and then I also want to do an engine out approach and full stop landing. So it's really really like cool. I was saying in my YouTube video about how authentic I felt the aircraft felt for being a piston-driven twin, and I made a couple mentions on the video about how I did not know if it was or was not basically a study level, but in discovering more with this and flying on my free time here post video, I'm noticing there's a lot more functionality to this than I originally suspected, which is absolutely awesome because, well, I'll take off and I'll show you once we do our simulated engine out. Pretty much, I've already been up experimenting with the aircraft, so I'm a little bit more familiar than I was, sadly to say, in my rapid review, because that's what reviews are, right? You're supposed to know what you're talking about. That's not just a simulator fault. That's my fault. Not in just game, but, you know, real life too. So, all jokes aside, I'm going to go ahead and let's make sure that we're all set up here at Silitz, and then I'm going to go ahead and let's go capture some wind underneath our wings. You know, and it really, I must say, I love the Airbus D10s here because for a moment, you literally can use the quadrant stops, right? That's like a notch, there's a notch here, there's a notch there for takeoff, go around, throttle. So even like if you're not in the Airbus, it really has some nice detents, and I would also recommend this product too. Again, if you're watching this via YouTube post stream, I'm going to throw up pictures, hopefully I already have, and you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, I also like how you can sort of do a quote unquote, dare I say, flex takeoff. I can bring the power up sort of to like a makeshift max continuous right there. That's not full quadrant. I know you can't see the joysticks per se, the throttle quadrants per se, but trust me in that it's only about 85% max, which is really cool. And then you don't have to go fumble around with the mouse or anything. Literally, to put the gear up, I'm just going to literally raise the bar like that, the little handle. It's perfect.
Don't sink.
No hands off a flight,
Don't
nothing.
Sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
And then I'm going to push back
Don't
to
sink.
full throttle,
Don't
get some altitude.
Sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't
And
sink.
raising the flaps to get rid of the messages.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
And I'm noticing also with this aircraft as well, the one thing I genuinely appreciate with this aircraft is that you fly this twin, right? If you were to lose an engine, you would get a whole bunch of adverse and yaw effects because of the clearly engines mounted on the wings here. So you lose one, you're going to get a whole bunch of opposite yaw. So like if you were, what I mean by that is if you were to lose, say, just a left-hand engine, essentially that right-hand engine would try to lower your left wing and yaw you to the left as if you were applying, well, almost full rudder in the flight dynamics of this aircraft, it seems. Which is really, I really, really like that. And to be honest with you, simulating that with these dual quadrant throttles is insane. Because being able to actually manipulate those throttles in a simulated engine out landing, it's really cool in that you can add a whole nother level to the flight dynamics on an aircraft where if you're just running one throttle, it sort of like you're like running both, but you know, like through both engines, excuse me, through one throttle. But the thing is, so let's just head south. And what I really like about this is once we level out here, I'm going to show you essentially, we'll just head down the coast, huh? Kind of late in the evening here. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west, huh? So yeah, it's pretty much going down real soon. One thing I want to do before I start practicing engine out simulations is I just want to trim this aircraft out for straight and level flight, excuse me, at cruise speed, because I feel like, you know, unless we're in an actual emergency, you clearly would want everything in a simulated out to go your way. So we don't want to be fighting, you know, rudder inputs and aileron inputs and all that stuff. So, there you go. And just trying to manipulate the throttle here to get a little bit more of better cruise speed. Of course, it said check gear, as, you know, just warning me that the gear's not down. But what I'm finding is that if you look at the rudder trim, right, since we're almost level here, if you look at the rudder trim, I find that the right deflection, where the R essentially is right almost where that red line is on the indicator, generally with both engines running seems to give me a pretty level hands-free flight. Then I'm just worrying about the elevator pitch. So we'll get that down to 0. Naturally, the faster we go, the more the nose is going to rise. But that's okay, because we're getting ready to get all discombobulated here by essentially turning an engine off, or two. I also like the fact that with the TCA quadrant here, you can see your slip, right? So what I mean by that, essentially, is when you put in the right, in this case, rudder trim, you can see that green representation of our aircraft in relation to the yellow bar is essentially how true are we flying through the air. So if I manipulate the rudder trim to the right, you'll notice that it changes. Pay no mind to the magenta, that's just the flight director. So if you see, we're pretty much flying even, right? So, nice and clean, maximizing airspeed, not too much collateral drag because we're trimmed out clean. So, what I like about that is being able to use the actual rudder trim on the quadrant itself outside a game by turning it left and right, so on and so forth. I'm able to actually do that in real time without, you know, having to use anything else other than a very authentic feeling experience. Because when you reach down and you feel for something and it's there, you kind of feel like you're, I don't know, I feel like I'm more part of the aircraft itself as opposed to just like pressing buttons on the keyboard or whatever. So long story short, I'm rambling, but I definitely feel the split throttle and the accessory buttons that come with it are 100% worthwhile. So I'm going to go ahead and throw on the autopilot there, and we'll just let this pick up essentially the heading, because we're going to still fly south. But what I want to do is I'm going to rotate that thing around so we don't get too far from the airport, because I would literally like to get back and do the engine out, and I don't want to get too far from Sillets Bay. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll start heading back due north. We'll throw it in heading mode, because I do not want to be in a turn, if not necessary, with an engine out. So, as it were, let's see. We're going to go into heading mode. And again, I apologize for the magenta, but I guess it's a necessary evil. Now, as soon as we come through this corner here, let me throw the throttles down a little bit. There we go. Level those out, 83% load. So what I would like to do is, once we are heading due north, I'd like to actually, let's go ahead and simulate that engine out. Now this will be, obviously, a little easier, as this is an actual flight emergency, so we're going to be on the autopilot, and hopefully that'll take the strain off of us. So we'll manage it from autopilot just to experience the engine out, pretty much in itself. So yeah, again, if I haven't said it before, I'm absolutely loving this aircraft. Dare I say, more so than I thought I would. It was awesome for the review, and so awesome that I'm just casually flying and testing features that I don't normally test. Well, one, because I don't have the quadrant, and well, I never had the dual quadrant, and now because, you know, this plane actually is a great demonstrator for the functionality of awesome DLC, quite frankly. And I said in my review as well, I mean, the level of detail on this is absolutely stunning. We've seen some very high detail releases, but I mean, one can't help look at this marvel and just feel like, wow, the effort put in here is incredible. The sounds are incredible. I love that it's diesel. I love that it's turbocharged. It's just an awesome aircraft, to be honest with you. And really, I mean, I know I'm gushing here, but I mean, you got the Garmin G1000, right? Normally I don't fly with these, and I like this quote-unquote steam gauges per se, but the fact that this aircraft is so unique, it reinvigorates me to use the G1000 again, because normally I wouldn't, but this is just such a unique plane. It's almost like rediscovering the avionics package in a good way. So, okay, we're level now, and as I said, I'm going to go ahead. Let's bring the left-hand throttle down to idle, and the autopilot should compensate. So here's one of the things that I liked about this that I didn't know in the time I did the review. Okay, so check here. It's not happy that the engine is literally at idle, and there's some adverse yawing effect here. Check that out. Gear warning, circuit breaker pulled. So functional circuit breakers, that is awesome. Okay, so we'll clear that caution, and then I am going to take the engine from idle to literally off. Okay, so now we're just windmilling. And what I'm going to do is just make sure with ECU test, I'm going to go ahead and turn the alternator off. And then I'm going to turn off the left engine. Look at that. Automatically turns the propeller off, feathers it, and then peace, freedom. We are literally flying. Now, of course, Sillets Bay is down there, right? I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, right in the center of the screen. And you come outside. I mean, that is absolutely awesome. Of course, in the real world, that would not be awesome. But for this aircraft, with this sunset, it's just, I don't know, I find it fascinating. You have to experience this with a split quadrant throttle if you haven't, and I 100% recommend the Airbus TCA. It's insane. So I'm going to go ahead and let's turn this all back on, and then we'll swap over to the right engine. And that'll be the day. So everything's on. It's coming out of feather. Aircraft is not happy. Put the fuel controls back on and fire it back up. And now, because I have that left-hand throttle, I can just slowly manipulate it. I don't have just the one throttle that works both engines, so if I were to pull it back up, it would just instantaneously yoke right back to full for both engines, right? But not when you have the split. It's absolutely awesome. We'll clear the ECU, and then we'll repeat the procedure for the right engine. So, throttle to idle. And we'll remove the fuel. And windmilling. And off. Auto feather. Just like the port, we're styling, we're cruising, man. So where's that airport, by the way? Ah, there you go. Always at the little marsh down here. Every time I take off, I remember the airport is just before the marsh if you were coming from the south. So we are going to actually land, of course, in this direction, like that, and that's, you know, the way we took off, like that. But I've already accomplished an engine out with the right engine. So rather, let me re-explain that. I've already accomplished a landing with the right engine running and the left engine out. So we're gonna do the opposite, or vice versa, of the last one, because I would like to try it with the right engine running and the left engine off, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, like, so I guess I'm just, you know, dyslexic in my brain and my words, but that's okay, I guess. So, reversal of order. We'll turn the fuel control back on. Also, what occurred to me too is that imagine if you were to try to start this engine. Yes, it's a FADEC engine, but what if you had a single throttle and your throttle was like all the way up here? Would you ever really start an engine on full throttle? Not so much. So that's also another shining example of why I think the split is a really decent idea, for sure. So let's go ahead and we'll take that out of feather, which also is cool because it simulates more drag when it is not feathered, as it should. But just another facet of this aircraft that I absolutely adore. Gonna go ahead and reset the right ECU there. and then I'm going to hit the starter. And let's go ahead and bring our engine throttle on our starboard engine up. And let the autopilot correct. Fantastic. So here we are at 3,490 feet, both operating engines, but let's just suppose that we really did have an engine out. I'm going to go ahead and do an approach, as I said, with the single engine. Show you just how cool and easy this is with the aircraft. Now, it takes a little bit of concentration, not gonna lie, but in the real world, it's absolutely something that would not be done for entertainment purposes, unless obviously in a dire emergency. So, I'm gonna go ahead and let's actually turn the autopilot off. And then we're gonna have to obviously manually manipulate the throttles. Well, correction, the throttle. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually saw, because I know I haven't, not in person, a landing with this kind of view? And what I mean by that is just the feathered left prop with the sounds from the right engine still running. Not a view you see every day. Hopefully never. So we're just going to do very small inputs, and I have to be conscious at all times to make sure that I have plenty of altitude, plenty of energy, meaning forward motion. So I'm going to stay high on approach, just to give myself a little bit of pad. We're not going to put the wheels down or the flaps down until the very last moment, because I absolutely want to keep as much energy as possible. Again, I am no hero. This is just for fun. What I mean by hero is, of course, this is just a disclaimer. These practices are not, I repeat, not okay in the real world. But for argument's sake, just to play on the sim and to demonstrate this aircraft in a hopefully relatively quick video for this stream that I can throw on YouTube. Not sure if you'll see it here or there, but hey, if you do, go ahead, let me know what you thought of it. I mean, even if it's bad. If you think this video stinks, let me know. I would love to hear. I'm open to all kinds of commentary. I'm trying to build my channel, one honest video at a time, both Twitch and YouTube. So if you like what you see, let me know. If you don't, let me know, because honestly, that helps me just as much. It really does. So you'll notice we are high. Of course, other procedures indeed would be, you would absolutely want to call, you know, you would want to call up like a radio comm frequency, whatever your emergency frequency would be, 121.5, so on and so forth. If this were a real event, you would have books, you would have checklists, you would be doing it by the book, as aviation, in my opinion, should be done by the book. So we're high. I'm going to throw in notch of flaps on the TCA approach, but we're not going to go full because I literally do not want to bleed off all of the airspeed. So here's what I like to do with this. I like to set up my approach far out as best as possible, and I like to have my pitch, my yaw, and my roll all sorted out before I get there, because what I'm trying to do here is any throttle inputs I put in with the starboard engine are going to adversely affect how I'm flying in a straight line. As I'm showing here, I'm going to go ahead and make a liar out of myself and just add that extra notch of flaps. But what I'm saying is, rather than rolling and wobbling and weaving, you want to try to keep your throttle as close to set as possible for this if you attempt it, because you will obviously notice a lot of y'all. Sorry for the interrupted communications there, but just trying to focus on getting you guys a good video. little bit of yaw there. However, we did land with one engine out, and that's a good thing because, in my opinion, as they say, any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. I mean, blown tires, destroyed engines, holes in crankcases, whatever the thing is, turbos seasoned, doesn't matter. For whatever reason, if you lose an engine, I think the biggest order of success you can have is clearly you just got to maintain your level-headedness, but that split throttle absolutely helps to bring about a successful ending to a flight. So let's go ahead and fire up that engine again, and then I will bring us into the taxiway, and obviously, I guess, and abruptly bring an end to the stream and the video. Well, it's not a stream for you if you see it on YouTube. However, either way, if you've seen any of this video, or all of it, that's pretty cool. So we'll throw the circuit breaker back in for the gear. Let's go ahead and start the left engine again. Now we have regular throttle inputs. We do not have to deal with the yawing effect of just one engine, so this is quite handy for us, as we have a fully functional aircraft. We're just going to taxi on back to the same exact spot that I did in the previous YouTube video here. We're not going to park with the common aircraft. We're just going to pull right up in front of the guy who's going to be inevitably checking the garbage cans like he was in the video before. You'll see. I think he wants a flight. He wants to fly around, but yeah, no. Do not want to be adding weight, jokingly, to an overloaded aircraft with one engine. So I'm literally flying with the weights being set at pilot and co-pilot, and that's it. This would be quite a problem if you were fully loaded and you had an engine out. So obviously takeoff and procedures on the climb out for single engine are quite a bit different than on an approach. But yeah, just wanted to do a little bit of quick demonstrating on this brand new quadrant that I've literally picked up like half an hour ago to test the dual engine capabilities of this aircraft and the split throttle effect as the sun's going down. We won't be able to see too many things at night. I'm flying in real weather, real time, real pilots and all that, so I like to do that for the simulation effect. But let's go ahead and turn this engine off. Did not need to turn the left-hand alternator on as we were already on the ground anyways. But yeah, let's go ahead and shut this bird down and then call it quits. Close all the things here. Turn off the pitot heats and the engine controls. Let's go ahead and turn all of this off here, and then let's turn off the batteries, open this up, and say that was a successful flight, dare I say, with my Indiana Jones jacket on. And whoever that guy is, don't know, didn't invite him. All good. But yeah, this aircraft is a truly remarkable thing. I will be spending some time in here. I mean, look at those gauges in the switches. I mean, they're the 3D relief in there and the depth on that altimeter and that horizon. It's just, wow. I don't know. If you don't have this plane, again, I recommend picking it up. It is up there with the best of them, for sure. Anyhow, if you saw the first video, great. If you didn't, if you feel like seeing the full review on it, go ahead. This is at the same airport that we did it just the other day. And if you see this one and you like what you see, let me know. If you don't, it's all good. Let me know. Anyways, have a great 2024. If I see you again, great. If not, it's all good. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you being here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.